Hi, everybody. It's Jim Black, and I'm here with Ace Woods of Revest Homes. We're talking in November about things that are important. A lot of things are going on in real estate, and I'm excited to have you on our show here to talk more about things that matter to our consumers, our homeowners, and families that are looking to make big decisions around real estate. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat. I think today's topic is going to be all about affordability. Kind of a hot topic right now, or not so hot topic. But I learned some interesting statistics the other day that I kind of wanted to share. And it was that back in like the late 70s, early 80s, affordability was around 40%. All right. So we're talking interest rates around 18%, affordability around 40%, and inventory in our locality in Santa Cruz, there's about 2,000 homes for sale in November 1980. Flash forward to today, we're looking at 16% affordability. So massive decline. This is where we're all talking about, like the boomers, it was cheaper back then, even though interest rates were 10% higher. So we're at 78% interest rates now.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yep.
So interest rates are 10% lower than they were back in 1980. Affordability is down from 40% all the way down to 16%. And then our inventory, we don't have 2,000 homes for sale. We have like a couple hundred. So really big factors that are impacting our buyers here: inventory, affordability. Interest rates, surprisingly, isn't necessarily the main thing that affects affordability. I mean, it does, but when prices are as high as they are because inventory is so low, that seems to be the real big thing, right?
Yeah. So right now, again, to repeat what Ace just said, think about when your parents or grandparents bought a house. They were probably on a single income, and relative to their income, their payment for their house was a lot lower of their income relative to their spending habits. Now, and that was about, at those times, 40% of those people could actually afford to buy a house. Now, fast forward to 2023, most people have dual incomes or multiple jobs, and most people are spending a lot more for their houses, and cost of living's higher, inflation, gas, all those things. Credit card debt, student loans, and all of that relates now to about 16 to 18% of people qualifying for housing. The challenge here in the Bay Area, where we are in the Monterey, Santa Cruz area, is the fact that there's limited opportunity for growth too with building. So you have a supply and demand issue is really the main driver right now, and why people aren't moving, and you don't see a lot of changes happening. So Ace, if someone can't afford to move, they're trying to figure out ways to make it work in their house, right? Is it bring on a renter? Is it have multiple generations of family live together? I mean, those are big issues we see every day in our county. And being in Santa Cruz County, we're right on the coast. So are you going to go retire in Fresno or Bakersfield? No offense to anybody who lives there. Probably not. You're probably going to stay where you love to live, which is here on the coast.
If you can. I mean, I will say that we are seeing an exodus of many kind of baby boomer age people leaving to other states, Idaho, Texas, Florida, Arizona, Utah, places where their kids could actually afford to live because it is so unaffordable here. But I think today our goal is to talk about what are some things that we can do or people can do to still be able to buy. Like, how can we bridge this gap in affordability? What are some creative tools that are out there? So I know you've got some suggestions on the financing front. I've got some suggestions on the housing front, but let's start with down payment assistance. That's kind of like the catchphrase that everyone wants to talk about.
Sure.
Is there money out there that can help me buy a home?
Yeah. So one of the great things that's happened is that there's no lack of capital available. The economy is very healthy, which is why interest rates are so high. So right now there are several different ways to look at leveraging money for a down payment. I call it leverage in a good way. Sometimes people think they have leverage on somebody as a bad thing. Well, we want to think of leverage in a good way. When we think about leverage, we're thinking about the opportunity cost of how much it costs to borrow relative to the investment goals we have or personal goals we have around the quality of life we want to live. So for example, when someone looks at buying a home right now, they should look at not only buying a primary residence home, but how they can leverage their money to help them get ahead in wealth through real estate. So they may want to buy a property as an investment property out of the area. or an area Airbnb or a second home. And can you help people in other areas? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I know you're licensed in 29 states?
A few states.
Yeah,
yes.
so you're licensed. I'm only licensed in California. But the really good thing is, especially with my background with Women's Council, which is a national organization, is I'm able to refer, I'm able to interview realtors throughout the country. I know a lot of realtors throughout the country, but if I don't specifically know someone, I can interview and I can refer. Benefits me because I make money on it, but that means I'm incentivized to pick a really good agent. I will interview for you. So I can refer out of the area. I keep my eye on other areas because I also am looking to invest in other areas. You know, I'm not buying, I do own my own home here, but I'm not buying my second investment property in Santa Cruz. There's just no way. I'm not at that point in my life. So we're looking in other states for that type of thing. And when I have clients who they make really good money, they're finally like gotten to the point where they can qualify, but guess what? They still can't afford to be here. Yeah, we're having that conversation. Okay, well, you can't buy in Santa Cruz. Your budget's only $400,000. There may be a couple teachers, good income, they've saved up, but they still can't buy here. Okay, well, let's look. Maybe we're looking Central Valley. Maybe we're looking out of state. Maybe we're looking Kansas City, or maybe we're looking at Indiana or Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like there are other markets, North Carolina. There's other markets where you can buy, get your foot in the door, start building that equity, the appreciation, the cash on cash returns. Like that's an option for sure. And I think realtors get really caught up with, you know, trying to sell in their own market to like make that sale, where maybe the best thing for your client is like, hey, yeah, send them out. And that doesn't mean that they can't still keep building up, saving up to buy their home here. Maybe they build some more equity and appreciation there. Things become more affordable. They get an increase in pay, whatever it is. They sell that North Carolina property or they leverage it. And then they end up buying here down the road. Your first house is not necessarily, well, it shouldn't be the last house you buy, right?
Yeah, I hope not. I hope you have life goals that are bigger than where you are currently today, and whatever those are. And getting back to the down payment question. So down payment assistance programs, DAP, or any other acronym that's out there, should benefit everyone in the same category, right? If, for example, we're in California while we're doing this video, there's a program called HAFA, HFA.
That's what we talked about last time, right?
Yeah, we talked about that last time. There's a program called Dream for All. Well, unfortunately, the Dream for All was Dream for Few. There was a program that came out in the beginning of March of 2023. There was $300 million available.
We were so excited when that came out.
Yeah, totally. Of down payment money. And it was gone in 9 business days, start to finish. So $300 million gone, poof. So that helped about 2,700 homeowners.
And who were they?
People that were lucky to get money when they found a property, which is really strange. It's not a dream for all if the money runs out in 9 days and if it's subsidized by taxpayers in California. It's a dream for some or very few. So that's not really an exciting thing to think about when you have to be stressed to go buy a house in a certain time frame. It's actually almost like pressuring people to make a big decision in life, which might not be the right decision for them. So when you look at these programs, know that they kind of operate on 4 levels. One is national level, right? So federal housing authority support programs like FHA or VA. VA stands for Veterans, and FHA is a federally regulated entity. You then have state-run specific things, California, Nevada, Washington, whatever state they are. You then go down to county level things, and then you have city level things. So work with people that know these different benefits that are available or different distractions that may waste your time. And doing that upfront can only prepare you to make better decisions and be prepared when that house comes up to be able to write an offer on a property you didn't think you could afford.
Let's dig into specifics on that.
Sure.
So we love FHA, we love VA. Those are low, put in a low down payment.
Yes.
VA, you've got, no down payment sometimes. You've got good interest rates. Like those are great programs. At the state level, Cal HFA, we were so excited when that came out.
Yes.
But for like, how many times have I sold a house in 9 days from start to finish? I mean, it's just very rare that someone finds a home that quick. I mean, we're looking months, sometimes years. So is there anything else like Cal HFA? Because that program was great. That actually gives you real quick recap, and tell me if I'm wrong. They're giving you up to 20% down payment assistance And in exchange, they're taking an equity share on that down payment when you sell.
Yes. So there used to be programs that were like deferred payments or forgivable loans. We did the last forgivable loan through Cal Haffa 2 years ago. I literally got a call from Cal Haffa and they're like, congratulations, you're the last one that got this.
Wow.
So deferred means when you sell, you owe the money, right? Forgivable means over the life of the loan, it can be phased out. So they used to have a program that was phased out over 5 years. So 20% got tripped.
Yeah.
That's no longer here. And the latest version has been an equity share loan, which allows you to have no payment for the life of that loan, where they take some of the appreciation that you gain. I love this tool because the program works really well to help people get in the game that may not qualify because they don't have a payment on the second loan and they're sharing appreciation, which is something they wouldn't have if they didn't buy a house.
So they're still getting a lot of the main bulk of the appreciation on
yes,
it. Right?
Yes. And Cal Haffa, for example, like I mentioned earlier, there was $300 million used in 9 days. Well, they've earmarked $200 million next year in 2024, and they're doing it as a lottery system per zip code. So
maybe we'll get a couple this time.
Sweet. So yeah,
I don't think there's probably any in Santa Cruz that.
Unfortunately, it creates a little bit of a sad situation. It gives people less hope when there's so many stipulations that come with this. It is truly like a lottery system. So there are programs out there that are becoming more and more popular. A few of them that are out there, one is known as Point, one is known as Unison, and there's a new one known as Steadworth. These are all programs that we're happy to help support you in making sure that you figure out the best one for you. They all have different nuances. And the main thing that we always want to look at, especially as a loan officer, is making sure that we provide solutions and let our clients choose the best option for them. If I only have one solution and I go to them and present that, it might not be the right solution. We got to make sure we look at all of the factors and make sure that the goals and objectives of the consumer are being met. So it's great to have these shiny objects, but if they don't fit the right situation, they're not the right loan to get. So working with local trusted people in both real estate and lending are very important, especially with a lot of nuances around interest rates, local incentives, and programs that help people fit the right program for the right amount of time that they need. And sometimes equity share is great. So equity share in general take more of the house value or equity appreciation in the short run, and they take less of it as you hold on to that loan. So if you hold a loan, for example, for 15 years, that appreciation is probably fractional of terms of the amount that they take relative to how much you've gained. So if you're making good long-term decisions, a program with equity share should be a great solution. And you're more than welcome to reach out to me to get these programs. I'm licensed in every state that I do these programs in. So what's nice about that is what works in one state may or may not work in another, but we have to be ahead of the curve in learning and being proactive in making sure we have the right solutions. Just like you as a real estate professional, I'd imagine people right now are struggling with, do I stay in my home? Do I sell and move to another area? My family, I'm an empty nester. I'm moving. My kids are not coming back here. Like, what are some of the things you recommend people asking or getting advice from you regards to that?
Well, first of all, I just love that you have these alternative options to Cal HFA. It's great that there's $200 million coming next year and that they've kind of find a way to diversify it. My guess is that a lot of that went to like new construction.
Yeah, builders took advantage of it.
Builders probably did really good on that.
Yes, yes.
We don't have a lot of builders here in Santa Cruz or even in the Bay Area. We don't have a ton of new construction. We don't have the room for it. So that's nice to know that some people will be able to take advantage of it here, although I'm sure very few. So I love that you have some alternative options. Certainly when clients come to me, I mean, it's nice because we're able to have these kind of synergistic conversations together. What are your goals? What's your current situation? What's your family situation? You know, are you going to be having kids? Have your kids left the house? Or, you know, are your in-laws coming? Like these all guide kind of options. And I've got some clients right now and we're going through every different possible situation of how to make it work so that they can be where they want to be. And Talk about building ADUs on the parents' property, moving the parents into the ADU, they buy the house.
Yeah.
Or maybe the parents sell them the house and then they go and buy a mobile home or an affordable condo.
And that brings up a good point. So I studied economics in undergrad and grad school. And the biggest theme that I think people should think about right now, which ties to affordability, is what is the opportunity cost of doing something? So do I own a property or do I rent? What are the opportunity costs of both those categories? Do I want to stay in Santa Cruz County or the Bay Area or move to Texas? What are the opportunity costs of doing that? And really getting all the resources and facts before you decide is the key. So I always like to ask people, like, what are your objectives, right? We have to listen. We have to be a good listener and attentive to what's important. And then talk about leverage and talk about opportunity cost. And when you do that, you break down the goals into realistic goals that matter to the person you're talking to. And then it becomes really a custom solution. And with a very few amount of people that can afford to buy a new home, I think we're going to see a lot of people that are racking up credit card debts, or student loans just came back out of the forbearance period, October 1st. They now have payments again. So you have a lot of people that are even homeowners that don't know what to do next. They're stuck, they're trapped. And one thing that's also a psychological thing, if you're a homeowner, for example, and you have a 3% interest rate, that's great. But that's not probably your overall rate on the blended amount of money you have outstanding. So for example, if I had a $200,000 3% rate today, and I have credit card rates that are $50,000 at 27%, that blended rate is probably close to double digit. So you don't effectively have a 3% rate. You have a blended rate on your finances that's way higher than mortgage rates. So it still might make sense to refinance out of a 3% loan into a 7% loan because of the fact that you got to look at the entire picture. And so many people get this tunnel vision and they say, I'm not touching my first loan rate. It's at 2%. Well, if that's all the debt you have, fantastic. But most people that have debt in one category have debt in other categories. So I have a feeling that they just need to be there to support them more. So, and if you get people that come to you about a listing and talk about what their options are, that's an important factor to think about. And we have a great tool. It's called the blended rate calculator. You can get it from Ace or I. That blended rate tool will show you the cost of borrowing the money today. And you may have an interest rate that's great. It's 3%. If the term of that loan is only 5 years and your goals are long-term debt, that's not a good solution. That's a lot of stress because your payment will be higher on that shorter term period of debt. Again, there's tons of things to think about. It's not a one size fits all. And that's what I love about this job. And I think you do too. Like, it's never a dull moment every day. You know, it can change in a matter of moments.
Well, I think, the important takeaway here is you don't need to know, speaking to the consumer, you don't need to know about every single thing out there. And I mean, it's good to be informed, but it's also important to just have people that you trust, like Jim or myself, maybe, your wealth advisor, your attorney, you have your core people that you trust. So you can talk about these things because we do know what the options are out there. And we have different, spheres as well. You know way more about the finance that I could ever hope to. And I know a lot more about,
Yes.
other types of affordable housing. We didn't even really talk about those, today, but we'll talk about that another time. But, Measure J, Measure O, mobile homes, is that a good option? ADUs, building, like, we can talk as a team about all the different options out there, depending on what your goals are. And there is no one size fit all, but what's important to know is that there are options.
Absolutely. And banks, unfortunately, and bigger companies have a harder time creating customization. Right. So when we're in a lot of turmoil or a lot of unknown or uncertainty, these big companies, they can't be as customized as local professionals can because they're just too big. You can't train 40,000 people to be customized because then you have to have customized processes along the way and they can't adapt as quickly. So being nimble, adaptable, and local are keys in these markets because Ace knows what side of the streets get sunlight and the best schools in the area. I probably know the best local programs that can be negotiated to give you the best outcome. Again, it's just working with local people, and robots and AI won't replace that because every house is not the same. If every house looked exactly the same and every human being had the same job and same goals, absolutely. Peace out. I'm no longer viable. But I don't know a single person that lives on my street that has the exact same goals I have. So again, it's just finding the right people to work with, getting the right advice so that you can make a great decision that you can feel comfortable and confident with all the circumstances.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
thanks for coming on today.
yeah.
And Ace as part of Revest Homes, and we'll put the contact information for us below for her and for myself. Again, Cal Haffa and programs like that are great programs. The biggest thing is to work with a professional that provides options. There's not a one size fits all. And that's what we love about this again. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Jim.
Take care.